So what I'll do is, in order to show this scenario, I will just create another material where I'll specifically write it as a reorder point material. So MM01, and let's copy it from some other material. So the same material, star SL01 star. Or which?
To select basic MRPs. Selecting it.
Okay, so I just need to change, even not there also, because we already maintained as VB, right? So that is also not required.
That didn't get copied.
Yes, manual reorder point. Skip it as this one. Oh, why it is getting created for SL02, sorry. MM01. Enter.
Industry sector should be M. It doesn't matter, I guess.
No, that is something not a problem. So this is SL01. This is SL01. Yeah, now it is fine. Let's go proceed. MRP1, VP, MRP controller. So to save. Yeah, I think this was, I'll talk about this. This availability check, this individual requirement, daily requirement and all these are not available. Only individual requirement will be supported. The reason is daily requirement means there was a table. Okay, don't get confused. We'll talk about it separately. We will be discussing the fields in MRP Live. Okay, and let's click on save now. So this is a material. I hope this will throw error. Error means it will show that it has been planned using the old logic, classic logic. That is something which I want to demonstrate here. Let's click on, this is fine, execute. It should take time. Earlier it was not taking, means it is taking the previous data, although we are clicking on this regenerative. No, here also it is showing the same thing. I need to check this. There is something wrong. Normally what should happen is, I'll tell you, I'm just trying to show you one scenario. There are some other scenarios also where the MRP Live functionality is not supported. So one of the example is reorder point. Now, out of thousands of materials, how are you going to identify which materials are supported or not and why they are not supported? For example, if you want to know why this material is not supported in MRP Live. So the report that I told you in SE38, there is one report which you will run. This one is already available in my PPT. So you just need to specify the plant here and you just keep this as blank. Detailed display will give you material by material. So if you click on execute, it will tell you out of how many materials which are supported and which are not. So here it is showing correct picture. Here it is showing the error that these materials are not supported. Now if I go to this material, for example, if I go for change, Okay, and here if I change this to PD, now if you try the same report, detailed display, let me remove this material number. So now you can see in the first material, which is 153, it is not showing any error. This means this is fine. This will be planned using HANA. But this, here it is showing in ABAP, but in the actual MRP Live, it is taking the new logic. That is something which I need to check. Okay, so what I mean here is, this report will give you the complete idea out of whatever number of materials, how many materials are going to be supported using MRP Live without any problem. And if there are any materials, because of some reason, if they are not supporting MRP Live, you can get the reasons here. Once you get the reason, you will try to convince your client to make him understand that MRP Live is a faster functionality. So if you are okay to change this requirement in Material Master, you will be getting the results faster. If he is convinced, fine. If he is not convinced, then also MD01N in the background, it will automatically run all the materials which are not supported using the old logic. That is MD01. So for example, let me try last time again. If I run this MD01N without specifying any material. So there are two materials now. So normally one should be planned using HANA and other should be planned using Classic based on this logic, because this is something which is the report is showing. So if I execute this, although it should show 1, but I don't know, it will show 2 only. Yes, it is showing both are planned using MRP on HANA. Actually, it should be 1, and it will show you the time, how much time Classic has taken. Currently, because it is planned using HANA, no time was taken for Classic. Okay, if there is 1 and 1, it will show you out of this seconds, how many seconds? 6 seconds. How much was taken by HANA and how much was taken by Classic. So this gives you the complete picture. Now, if I go to this stock requirement list.
Gaurav, quick
Yes.
question. Doesn't it list materials? Okay, so here it lists materials.
Yes. It will give you the complete list.
Okay, thanks.
This is like a stock requirement list. If you click on this, it will take you here, and if you double click here, it will give the same picture what you were getting in MD04.
Okay, another question here when we are on the topic. I thought I'll ask you later, but earlier you said in MRP Live, there is no purchase requisitions creation supported anymore. If so, I mean, it's going to create only planned orders. So those MRP planners who used to do the purchase requisitions directly, what benefit does it give them by going to again plan order, then converting a planned order to purchase requisition, etc.? Is there any reason why that was taken away?
No. Have I said that purchase requisitions are not created?
Are not supported in MRP Live? Maybe I heard you wrong.
No. Something.
Yeah, you mentioned planned orders will get created.
Only planned orders are supported, you mentioned, Gaurav.
Okay. No, let me clarify. So yes, this MD01, which is this one. Yeah, here you mean to say that earlier there were 3 options. Now only planned orders are supported. This is something which I told.
Correct.
Yes, my mistake. I also realized that I said it wrongly. Yeah, the reason, sorry, that is not the case. The case is there is a flow now. There is a proper flow, like how exactly the things will be taken. So it is like, I will check this in my PPT also. I have this slide. So there is a proper flow. So let's say, for example, first of all, whenever a material is procured externally, it will check if there is a contract already in place. So it will take that contract into account, or the scheduling agreement, and finally it will go for purchase requisition. Even if the purchase requisition is not available, then only it will go for planned order in case of the procurement from outside. In case of in-house production, it will first check whether a production version exists or not. This is something new. So earlier, you were selecting the production version, right? You were mentioning in the material master which production version should be taken, which version should be taken, which BOM and which routing should be taken whenever you are running the MRP Live, right? Now that is not required because production version is mandatory now in SAP S4. So to avoid confusion, let me clarify this in the slide, because there is some 4 or 5 steps that needs to be clarified. I'll come back to you on this.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
But sorry, I also understand. I don't know how I told that. That is something which is wrong.
No, it's all right.
Okay. Okay, and yes. So this is something which I'm finding it difficult to understand how this is, because in one report it is showing it is not supported, and here it is showing both in HANA. That is something which I'll come back to you. But otherwise, this is giving you the stock requirement list. This is giving you the materials with messages. So currently there are nothing. Why? Because all the materials were planned using MRP on HANA. So if there is any material which cannot be planned using HANA, if it is in classic MRP, you can go here and you can find why exactly it was not planned using MRP on HANA. Okay, so this will also give you the information that why it was not planned, what was the reason. Okay, and let me now go back to PPT to discuss all these things. I think we need another half an hour session on this, because these things which are not working, I will properly check that and we will discuss more on that. But I think you got the basic idea now, so let me go through this. Yes, so from the PPT point of view, we reached here where I told you MD01 is a new transaction. So in classic MRP, we had different transactions, right? We had MD01, MD02, MD03. But in SAP S4HANA or MRP Live, MD01 replaces all those classic MRP transactions. As in single transaction, it is providing you more flexible selection criteria with more fields and options for selection. It is not possible, however, to replace multi-level make-to-order planning. So these are some of the transactions which are still not available on MRP Live. So as a workaround, the classic MRP transaction should be used. That is the reason SAP has kept both the ends open. They are not saying MRP Live is mandatory, and they are not removing MD01 completely. The reason is there are some scenarios which are still not supporting MRP Live. So in that case, there is no option but to go for MD01. Even if you run MD01N, if, as I told you, if the new logic is not supported, in the background itself, it will automatically redirect it to transaction MD01. That is a classical transaction.
One quick question, Gaurav.
Yes.
Now, were there any changes at the table level for storing this MRP data, or is it the old tables are still existing?
Table level, see, if I talk from the master data point of view and MD01, there are no changes. In case of MD01N, there are changes that I'll talk about.
Okay, another question related to that. See, currently, maybe with those who are MRP experts here on this call, maybe they might say I may be wrong. But as far as I understood, multi-plant MRP at the same time, that means materials being in multiple plants and the requirements, comparing the requirements and comparing with the stocks in various plants and coming out with the MRP results was one of the things which was not that much supported earlier. And even if it was supported, it was having a lot of issues. Is there any better functionality in MRP Live for those? Are you aware of any of those?
No, I think, see, if you see the transactions MD01, MD02, MD03, whatever different transactions we had, if you see at the plant level, it was only one plant supported. The multiple plants were never supported.
Right.
The problem was in multiple storage locations. If you remember, storage location was a problem. Because irrespective of whether you run the material planning on a storage location, it was taking complete plant in the background. That was a problem. That is the reason, I think around 5-10 years back, SAP stopped the MRP at storage location and they came up with the concept of MRP areas.
Okay. So are you saying that still the multi-plant at the same time in one run is still not supported?
It is supported. Currently, if you see MD01N, it is allowing you to specify more than one plant.
Okay. So maybe I missed that part.
So it is completely, yeah.
Gaurav, I just want to add, yeah. Even in traditional MRP, you do have options to add multiple plants using the scope of
planning.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, Manish. You can proceed, Gaurav. Thanks. I think my question is clear.
Yep. Okay, so this is a program which I shown you now where you can check, are there any materials which are not supported in MRP Live? So as I shown you, if you run this report, it will give you the complete picture that this material is not supported because of this reason. So in order to help you to identify which materials are using the settings not supported by MRP Live, SAP has developed a new report to check the master data. With this report, you can evaluate all your materials and identify which ones can be planned by MRP Live and which ones should be planned by classic MRP transactions. Whenever your system finds a restriction, this is a line which we discussed earlier, whenever your system finds a restriction or a setting that is not yet supported by MRP Live, it can automatically change to classic MRP logic and plan a material. However, from the performance standpoint, it is always better to plan using MRP Live because it is doing all the things in parallel. So even if you find a list of materials which are not supported, it is advisable to check with the business if they are ready to go ahead with that particular setting in the material master. If they are, they will be getting the faster results. If not, maybe due to some reason, then perfectly fine. In the background, it will automatically take the older logic. Performance log I shown you when you execute the MD01 and it provides you the performance log. So MRP Live provides the performance log that helps us to evaluate the MRP execution from the performance point of view. We can use this performance log to identify the bottlenecks because it is telling you why a particular material was not planned using MRP Live. It is providing the statistics such as what was the total run time, how many number of materials are planned, which materials are planned using old logic, which materials are planned using classic logic, how much time was spent on HANA and how much time was spent on classic MRP and all the other things. This is another program which I'll be discussing in the next session. So there are some scenarios in which, although system supports, MRP Live supports to plan that material using the new logic, but still business wants that, okay, this particular material, please don't use new logic. I want to keep old logic. There are some scenarios because there is one restriction in MRP Live. It doesn't create the MRP list. It only creates a stock requirement list. So I think you must be knowing the difference. MRP list is static. So once it is generated, it will remain as it is. Stock requirement list is dynamic. It keeps on changing. So if there is a requirement from the business that they want to have a MRP list, in that case, they have to stick to the classic logic. So even if system supports that this material can be planned using MRP Live, business can say that, okay, this particular material I want to plan using the old logic only. So this program or this T code, let me copy this T code. If you go to this T code, you can specify that please plan this material only using classic logic. Okay, so for example, this particular material. Okay, I think this is a better way to see. If I click on this, just a minute. So material is this, plant is this. Let me execute. Yeah, so this is a material. Currently, this is not ticked. This means I want to plan this material only using classical logic. So I click on change mode and I will click on this classic MRP. Just save this. Okay, now if I try to perform MD01 and even if this material is supported, okay, I'll just remove this because I want to show you this scenario where there are two materials, one with classic and one with the MRP Live logic. Okay, so two materials are planned, as I told you, one using classic logic, one using MRP on HANA. Total time taken by HANA was this one, 34, I don't know whether it is seconds or what, yes, 34 seconds, and total time taken by classic was 4 seconds. Total it has taken 38 seconds. Okay, so if you double click or if you click on this materials with messages, this is a material which was not planned. Why? Because material manually set to planning in classic MRP. We specifically said that please plan this material using classic logic. Okay, so here it throws the error. It will tell you why this material was not planned using the new logic. Here now, so this is how I was expecting when you perform the reorder point, it should come here as a classic MRP, not as a MRP on HANA. Okay, so this is a program which allows you to restrict a particular material to be planned always using the old logic, not the new logic.
What is that report name, Gaurav? Is it in the slides?
Yes, it is in the slide. So whatever slide I'm sharing with you, it contains that. And finally, the changes in the MRP view of material master. So I think this particular thing we will discuss in the next session with the flow, as I told you, how system determines whether the purchase requisition should be created or the planned order should be created. So all these things we'll see in the next session. So I hope you got the idea now. So there is one thing, one is the traditional MRP, then there is MRP on HANA, and finally there is MRP Live. So the difference is obviously this traditional MRP was doing record by record. MRP on HANA was selecting multiple records at a time, but processing and execution was one by one. Finally, MRP Live processes, selects everything in parallel. And the MRP on HANA works on the traditional T codes. So same transactions like MD01, MD02 will work on MRP on HANA, while for MRP on Live, it is providing you the better selection criteria where you can select multiple plants, multiple materials at the same time. And the new transaction is MD01N. And on top of that, it provides you the performance log, which tells you whether the material was planned using the old logic or new logic. And at the same time, there is a program through which you can identify which materials are in problem, what are the problems, and you can take the corrective actions. On the other hand, there is also a program which tells or which allows you to always plan the material using classic logic. Okay, so these are some of the things which we discussed today. In the next session, I will start off with this changes in the material master due to MRP and some other things which are related to MRP Live. Any questions?
Yes, any reason why VB is not supported?
Sorry, what is not supported?
Manual reorder point planning, VB.
Yes, there are some functionalities which are not supported, but it doesn't mean that they will not be available in future also, because the MRP Live, again, as we discussed in like the output determination, it is again one of the functionality which is keeping on developing. So maybe in the future they will allow the reorder point also. As of now, it is not supported. So there are some things which will come in MRP Live in future, and there are some things which will be as it is.
So basically, as of now, then only PD is supported, that is MRP.
Yes, yes.
Correct?
As of now, only PD is supported. Yes.
One more quick question then. So with this MRP Live, we would still need to run the planning run, before MRP run, we'll do a planning run which does the entry into the planning file. That step would still be there, right?
No, that is something which we are going to discuss in the next session. The planning file is the total horizon. There are some changes there also.
Okay, all right, thank you.